going on, everyone? Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about ESPN's cornerback rankings and where AJ Terrell fell in them. Plus, we're going to look at a trade candidate for the Falcons going into training camp. But quick reminder, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. It goes a long way to support the channel. So if you like the content we produce here, do me a favor and like today's video. But let's start with the ESPN cornerback ranking. So the folks at Bristol have been polling NFL coaches, GMs, execs, scouts, having them rank different position groups. And today, they released, or on Thursday, I should say, they released their cornerback rankings. And if you look at them, you might notice a name is not in the top 10. Patrick Surtain comes in at number 1. I wholeheartedly agree with that. Denzel Ward at number 2. Denzel Ward is a really, really good corner. The only knock is the lack of availability at times. He's had a lot of injuries in his career. But when he's on the field, he very well could be the second best cornerback in football. He comes in ahead of Sauce Gardner and L'Jarius Sneed. And then you got Jalen Ramsey, Trent McDuffie. I do think Trent McDuffie is really underrated. Jaire Alexander, if this was a 2021 cornerback poll, I would agree with it. Not so sure anymore. Jaylon Johnson at 8 seems criminally low for how good he was last year. Devon Witherspoon, after one season, clocks in at 9. And then Derek Stingley, he had 5 interceptions this past season, and he only played 11 games. So you can see the potential. But AJ Terrell, while he did not get into the top 10, he was an honorable mention, along with Marlon Humphrey, Trevon Diggs, Charvarius Ward, Christian Gonzalez, and Marshawn Lattimore. So let's talk about AJ Terrell being snubbed, left out of the top 10. This might not be what you want to hear, but it's my honest answer, which is I'm not too upset by this. Could you make a good argument that AJ Terrell is top 10? Yeah, I very well could. Christian Gonzalez, he was honorable mention. Devon Witherspoon, who I think of the other rookie, he wasn't bad for Seattle by any stretch last year, but I think you can definitely point to some really good points and arguments that AJ Terrell could be the number 9 cornerback. But ultimately, I think AJ Terrell is in a good spot in terms of these cornerback rankings of just outside the top 10, but very well could also be a top 10. We're kind of splitting hairs between 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now, when you look at Terrell's stats over the last 4 seasons, I think you can see why coaches, execs, GMs that are in the AFC and don't interact with the Falcons very much might look at Terrell's stats and just kind of rush to a conclusion and go, oh yeah, 4 interceptions the first 2 years, no picks the last 2 years. Oh, AJ Terrell's kind of fallen off a little bit, it looks like. Yeah, we'll leave him just outside the top 10. I can see how someone gets to that, end point, but I think that's a lazy path, and I'm going to tell you why. First, let's look at AJ Terrell's stats a little bit closer. The first 2 years compared to the last 2 years, where he goes from 4 interceptions, 23 pass breakups, 4 forced fumbles to 0 interceptions, 20 pass breakups, 0 forced fumbles. Where are the big playmaking plays? Well, they're not there because the ball's not coming to his half of the field. Look at the coverage stats over the last 2 years compared to the first 2 years. He was targeted 40 fewer times. Completions are down. Yards allowed, down. Sure, touchdowns up by 1. So I'm not surprised that AJ Terrell doesn't have a bunch of interceptions or pass breakups. AJ Terrell, guys, isn't getting the football thrown his way nearly as much as he was his first 2 years in the NFL. Now, here's what an NFL personnel evaluator had to say about AJ Terrell. I love the player, the size, and coverage ability, but where's the ball production? Well, dude, where's the ball production? The ball is on the other half of the field. The ball is going to Jeff Okudah. The ball is going to Casey Hayward. The ball is not going to AJ Terrell. Are we going to penalize him because no one throws to his half of the field as much as they were before? Look at those top 10 players and toss in AJ Terrell and targets per game over the last 2 seasons. AJ Terrell clocks in at 5th, tied for 3rd with Denzel Ward and Jaire Alexander with 5 targets per game. Right in the neighborhood of Pat Surtain, Jalen Ramsey, Trent McDuffie. I'm not saying AJ Terrell deserves to be a top 3 cornerback in the league, but I think it's a bit shallow and quick-minded to go, oh, I don't see any interceptions. Guy's not a good corner. No, he can be a very good corner. He can be a top 10 corner. But he's not going to get a lot of opportunities to make game-changing plays if he doesn't get the ball thrown his way because he locks down his wide receivers. To me, that does not seem like a fair thing to use to argue against AJ Terrell. No interceptions? Oh, sorry, he should leave guys open more so quarterbacks throw his way more often? You can't have it both ways. You can't ask him to be a good lockdown corner and then get upset when he doesn't get a lot of interceptions because he doesn't let his guys get open and quarterbacks don't throw his way. Now, can he still make good plays on the ball when the ball does come his way? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably why he's not a top 5 cornerback in the league. But I definitely think you can make a solid argument for him being in that 8 to 12 range. So I'm excited for AJ Terrell this upcoming season. A little bit nervous about him switching from the defenses he's been primarily in, which was a man defense, into a Raheem Morris zone defense because he's not the greatest tackler in the world. And it's going to be a dramatic change if they truly do go from what the Falcons did last year to what the Rams did last year. But ultimately, I think AJ Terrell, 8 to 12, is a very good range for him in terms of the cornerback rankings. So I'll turn it over to you. Is AJ Terrell a top 10 corner? I think if you had all the cornerbacks drafted right now, like redrafted, toss out contracts and all that stuff, I think Terrell would be one of the first 10 to go. I do believe that. So I'd say why for yes. But like I said earlier, I'm not going to let ESPN poll rankings by coaches and execs cause me to lose sleep because, I mean, a lot of these guys, well, I'm not saying they're not very intelligent and know the league like the back of their hand, but I think you do find coaches and scouts that live in the AFC or NFC, and if they don't play a team from the other division for a few years, they may not know those players super duper in depth and well. All right, let's switch gears and talk about a trade candidate for the Falcons now. So Bleacher Report put out an article where they ran through some trade candidates going into training camp, and one of the trade candidates they included was Falcons backup quarterback Taylor Heinicke. Now, some context here. Taylor Heinicke took a pay cut this offseason to stay with Atlanta. Falcons signed Kirk Cousins, and at the time they were probably thinking of drafting a quarterback like Michael Penix. So you can quickly see how a guy like Heinicke could get pushed out. But ultimately, he was willing to take a pay cut. The Falcons, I guess, were on board to keep him for another season, at least at the time. And now we are wondering if he does have a roster spot when you factor in the Michael Penix draft pick. I'm all for trading Heinicke. I'm sorry that the hometown kid did not work out in a homecoming. It would have been awesome. I thought he had the potential to be the next like Ryan Fitzmagic, where you don't want to start him at the beginning of the season, but have him come in off the bench in like week 3 and he could go on a long run. But it didn't work out at all last year in Atlanta. And I don't think it was one of those things where you chalk it up to coaching. Like the quarterbacks were just inaccurate or just not on time with the football, or worse yet, not smart and cautious with the football, and there were turnovers all over the place. So listen, if a team wants to call and give the Falcons a 5th-round draft pick, I'm in. Last year, we saw the Browns trade Josh Dobbs to the Arizona Cardinals right after roster cutdown day, or right before roster cutdown day at the end of the month of August, and Cleveland got a 5th-round draft pick out of it. So if we see Michael Penix start to look really good, yeah, I'm not going to be opposed to getting a day 3 draft pick. So with that being said, we're going to talk some trivia here in just a second. So list the 6 quarterbacks that have started for Atlanta since 2008. There's some obvious ones. I'll tell you right now, one of them is Taylor Heinicke. And then there's another one that's played a lot of football games for this team since 2008. But list the 6 quarterbacks that have started, not just played, but started for Atlanta since 2008. We will reveal this answer at the end of today's show. Now, Heinicke, taking a closer look, was not very good last year, right? Started 4 games for the Falcons, came in at halftime in that Titans game where it really wasn't much better than the first half with Ritter. 890 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But he was really good for a stretch in 2021 to 2022 with the Commies. I mean, he gave Tom Brady the closest game of their Super Bowl run for the Bucs. So Heinicke has shown flashes of potential, but ultimately it didn't work in a homecoming for him with the Falcons last year. But the big question we have to answer before we talk about trading Taylor Heinicke away is, can Michael Penix earn the QB2 job? I'm not saying can he have the QB2 job, but can he earn the backup quarterback position where the coaching staff feels comfortable that if something were to happen to Kirk Cousins, they could lean on Michael Penix. At the end of the day, he is still a rookie quarterback. So I don't think that it's the safest or brightest idea just to assume, like, oh, he was a top 10 draft pick. Yeah, absolutely, he can be QB2. No, let's watch during the preseason and training camp. Does Michael Penix look like a quarterback that the coaching staff would be okay with having a start or two in him if that were to arise because of an injury to Kirk Cousins? So if Penix shows us during the fall or during the summer and August that he is capable of being a legitimate starting quarterback where he can fill in for Kirk Cousins, or most importantly, I'd say, help Kirk Cousins get ready every single Sunday, that's like the biggest job of the backup quarterback. Can he help Kirk Cousins get ready in the film room, put together good game plans, notice things from the defense? Like, if he can't get to that level in year one, which, hey, that's not a bad thing or a scary thing, that's just a reality of a lot of rookie quarterbacks, then you may want to keep Taylor Heinicke around for a little bit longer. But if you can't get that, if you can get that out of Michael Penix, then a draft pick for a QB3, that's not a bad thing at all. So, with all that being said, what do you guys think about trading Taylor Heinicke? Let me know in the comment section whether or not you'd be open to that idea or not. Bleacher Report put together this trade idea. We'll throw it on screen for you in just a moment here. It's got the Falcons getting a 2025 fifth-round draft pick and the Raiders getting Taylor Heinicke. If things get choppy with Gardner Minshew and AOC over in Las Vegas, maybe add a third quarterback to the mix and kind of spice up the competition a little bit. I will remind you guys, the Falcons do not have a fifth-round draft pick in next year's NFL draft as a result of the tampering investigation with Kirk Cousins and some other guys. I'll also add this fun fact for you, though, just to kind of give you more of a clearer picture on the role and the importance of a good backup quarterback. 75% of NFL teams have had their starting quarterback miss 4 or more games in a season since 2021. So the NFL has clearly put in a lot of rules and a lot of emphasis on protecting the quarterback, and you can kind of see why. Like last year, pretty much 1 in every 2 teams had to go to their backup quarterback at some point for some reason. So while Kirk Cousins luckily has been an Iron Man his entire career, last year we saw he is mortal. He tore his Achilles, which I don't know if there's guys you think have a better chance of tearing their Achilles or not, but Kirk Cousins, Matt Ryan, like Eli Manning, like those types of quarterbacks, they always struck me as guys that just aren't going to get injured, right? There's just something about them where they just feel inevitable. But last year we saw that was not the case for Kirk Cousins. So it is important to have a quality backup. So let me turn it over to you one more time. Should the Falcons trade Taylor Heinicke? Give me a T for trade or type P for pass down below in the comment section. Give me your thoughts down below. Now, I do want to just share the other Bleacher Report trade candidates. They have them ranked, I believe, in like likelihood. So number 1, they've got Brandon Ayuk, where they put the Patriots and the Steelers as a potential destination for him. Matt Judon going from the Patriots to either the Lions or Ravens. Keep an eye on James Bradbury. He was bad last year for the Eagles. Maybe the Cardinals or Raiders would be interested in his services. Darius Slayton. Keep an eye on that name because the Giants drafted Malik Neighbors. They added Allen Robinson, Jalen Hyatt, and Wan'Dale Robinson, a couple of SEC guys. They're young and up and coming. So Darius Slayton might get pushed out of the Big Apple, and I really think the Falcons should look into Darius Slayton if that were to be a possibility. T. Higgins doesn't feel likely to go anywhere. Another Bengal, Jackson Carman, Panthers or Titans. Jack Conklin, Atlanta does not need an offensive lineman. I wish that Bleacher Report included the Falcons for Hassan Reddick. However, they put the Lions or the Niners. And then Taylor Heinicke, like we just talked about. And then Cam Hayward from the Steelers going to either the Eagles or the Lions. All right, one quick thing before we get to our trivia answer for today's show. If you want to get some Falcons gear in your closet, go to chatsports.com/ATL combo. You can get this Falcons t-shirt and hat combo 45% off. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. So get some new Falcons gear in your wardrobe before training camp and the preseason gets here, because once the season gets here, all those sales, they're going to go away. They're not going to be offered in season. So save future you some money right now by going to chatsports.com/ATL combo. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. All right, let's revisit our Falcons trivia question for today. List the 6 QBs that have started for Atlanta since 2008. Basically, since they drafted Matt Ryan. So, when I thought of this question before I even looked at the answer myself, I was able to come up with 4 very quickly. The 5th one came 5 seconds later. The 6th one I could not pull. So let's see if anyone did any better than me. But the 6 quarterbacks are Matt Ryan coming in at number 1 with 222 starts. Desmond Ridder at number 2 with 17 starts. Mariota with 13 starts. Heinicke with 4 starts. And then go back to the early days of Matt Ryan. Chris Redmond, former, I think he was a Raven first and then a Falcon, 2 starts. And then I was able to get Matt Schaub because I remember that weird game in 2019. I think it was in November where he filled in for an injured Matt Ryan for just 1 week. But I went 5 for 6. Let me know how you did down below in the comment section. All right, that will do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you all later.